Our next speaker this morning is the president of Granite State College and the chairman of the board of directors for the New Hampshire College and University Council and Campus Compact for New Hampshire, bringing us her perspective on higher education in New Hampshire and her insights into how our colleges and institutions of higher education can strengthen our economy in New Hampshire is KarolLacrox.
I can see that my former boss, Steve Reno, is in the audience. And if Steve was doing the presentation today, he probably would quote Thomas Friedman, in The World is Flat. If Ed McKay, my current boss, was here, he would probably quote Milton Friedman with some economic reference. But I'm going to raise the bar, and I'm going to quote Yogi Berra, who said, "It's hard to make predictions, especially about the future." But I'm going to do that anyways and share with you my perspective of what's happening in higher education. And there's a lot of information on this slide, but let me summarize it for you to give you a sense of what the landscape is like here in New Hampshire. First of all, we have 27 institutions that are degree-granting colleges and universities here in New Hampshire. We're currently educating over 70,000 students. 40% of them are taking their classes at private institutions. 59% are taking them at our 2- and 4-year public institutions, and the remainder, about 1%, are taking them at our 2 nonprofit institutions here in New Hampshire. We are indeed a force to be reckoned with in terms of the economy. We are a $5 billion industry, and we currently employ over 18,500 individuals. But that being said, our colleges and universities have been very much aware of and impacted by the changes in our economy, such that we know that there are some intense pressures out there, and whether or not we are public, private, or for-profit, we all have a bottom line. We're colleges, but we're also businesses. And that being said, over the past year, the presidents of the New Hampshire College and University institutions have used the occasion of our regularly scheduled meetings to get together and to talk about what's happening on our campuses and how we, both individually and collectively, can better position ourselves for the future. And therefore, I'm going to use this opportunity to share with you some of the conversations that we have had. First of all, we've started by identifying the challenges that we're facing. And one is demographic trends. And what we're finding that in the Northeast, much like the Midwest, we're seeing a decrease in the number of students coming through the K-12 pipeline and therefore graduating from high schools. So therefore, our pool of in-state applicants is likely to be reduced. Secondly, we're very aware of cost. And in some cases on our institutions, the revenues simply haven't kept pace with the expenses. Personnel costs, like your institutions and organizations, are really are big ticket items. So therefore, in order to respond to the challenges, many of us have had to eliminate positions. We've had to leave unfilled positions vacant. We've also had to either defer or not award salary increases. So we've really had to make some rather significant changes in order to balance our budgets in some cases. Another big challenge for us is affordability, because if we are talking about access, college education must be affordable. And therefore, what we are finding is that there's been an increased demand for student financial aid within our institutions, and this increasing demand has put even more pressures on our operating budgets. For example, this past year, the University System of New Hampshire increased its financial aid commitment to its students by more than 12%. And some of our private institutions have in fact increased their financial aid by more than 25% to their students. But in spite of this, we do have students leaving our institutions with debt of more than $25,000. And this accounts for, on a national level, being number 5 in terms of the greatest debt that our students have to assume. The other challenge is state support. And with the funding challenges that our state legislature currently has, we do not expect any substantial increase in funding for public institutions of higher education, nor do we expect any increase in the state grant or scholarship support that we get. And so therefore we are fully aware of the fact that New Hampshire will probably retain its position as last in the nation in terms of supporting higher education. The other thing that we're aware of is increased competition. Our New Hampshire colleges and universities will face increased competition from some institutions who are looking to come into our state and offer their programs. But we also have another sector of online institutions who are actively recruiting our students virtually to enroll in their programs. And let me put that in perspective. The University of Phoenix, which has a very strong online presence, enrolls the largest number of students in the nation, 242,000. The second highest number of students is 48,000 at The Ohio State University. So clearly, online for-profit institutions are really a force to be reckoned with in the future and really are part of the landscape as we look at higher education. Even though they currently play the minor role, nationally they enroll about 8% of the students as compared to about 1 or 2% here in New Hampshire. We fully expect that that number is going to increase in the future. But with these challenges that we face, we also know that there are some opportunities that are ahead of us. And like Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, says, that a challenge can become an opportunity if it's managed well. One of the things that we have going for us are healthy enrollments. And our enrollments, particularly in our community colleges, are very strong. They are indeed increasing in terms of the university system of New Hampshire, but also our private institutions in some cases have had a decrease in enrollments in their undergraduate programs, but that's been offset by increasing enrollments in their graduate programs, especially those that are part-time for working adults. We also see new markets ahead. We see new markets relative to adult learners. 17% of the college students today are over the age of 35. We also see new markets relative to the military sector. The new GI Bill is really offering substantially increased support for qualified veterans wishing to come back to school. We also are doing our own thing relative to the online presence, and we have several of our institutions who really have a growing number of students and the opportunity to bring their programs outside of the confines of our state. So we're being aggressive in many cases in that right. We also are putting together new programs, and we have prepared for you, and I would ask you on your way out at the registration desk to take a booklet that we have put together that really describes for you what each of our institutions has done, and in some cases new programs that are better positioning us to meet student demand and also address workforce needs. We also are increasing our engagement. We are very delighted to see that our students of today are much more committed to giving back to their communities than perhaps some of us were in our generations. And so therefore the value of the volunteerism that's coming out of our community colleges and our four-year institutions by our students and faculty is really very helpful, to the tune of $95 million with regard to the New Hampshire economy. So that's a good trend that we are really pleased to see in our students. And then lastly, and probably most important, is collaboration through cooperation. We have in place through the New Hampshire College and University system, or New Hampshire College and University Council, this opportunity for our college presidents to come together and to gain some efficiencies relative to library services, admissions, technology, and also student exchange programs. So working together, we can do more. Secondly, we've also had in place the New Hampshire Forum for the Future that brings together higher education, business, and government. And we very much feel that New Hampshire can be a leader in meeting President Obama's challenge of, by the year 2020, being number one in terms of the number of students or the number of people getting a college degree. So we're very optimistic about the future of higher education here in New Hampshire, and I'm very happy to have had this opportunity to share this information with you. Thank you.